Hi, everybody. Let me know. Ooh, that sounded loud. Okay, great. First of all, thank you to the Catalyst people for having us. This is fantastic. And for Citizen University for putting this on. What an incredible event. I feel like personally coming here, first of all, first time ever in Las Vegas, I have learned a huge amount. You know, you have preconceptions about things. And coming here, being on the ground, being with people who know what they're talking about, even the people who aren't from here, who really know what they're talking about, has been a fantastic experience, just personally, for me. Talking about this in terms of being personal, when they first asked me to do this talk, one of the things that they said is, it really has to be about me. It's not supposed to be about my company. It's not supposed to be about our product. It's supposed to be about me. And that's actually really scary. And it's a really, really hard thing to do, because it isn't one of these investor presentations or we're talking about valuations or any of those kinds of things. And ultimately, sometimes it feels like when you're in startup land, that's what your life becomes. This is what you do. And it isn't what we do. And so on the one hand, it's scary. On the other hand, I'm thankful for the opportunity, because quite frankly, in startup land, you don't get to reflect very often. Yesterday, during the Women in Leadership program, Amanda said a couple of really amazing things. One of the things she said is, and it resonated with what I just said, it's hard because as an entrepreneur, you wrap yourself in your work. And sometimes it's very difficult to separate yourself from that work. And that makes it doubly hard sometimes when they say, no, what about you? The other thing is she said that her sort of path and her story sounds a little bit down and kind of grumbly at first, but picks up speed and hopefully becomes inspiring. Unfortunately, you're in for the same ride with me. So I just wanted to forewarn you. Don't worry. So this is the brief thing, and after you're done reading it, I'll just sit down. I grew up in the middle of Connecticut in a huge Italian family. A big, loud, stereotypical. I mean, my grandparents had 41 grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Of the 41, my brother, my sister, and I, and one of my cousins were the last of all the kids and grandkids and stuff. We're the only ones who went to college. And so I'm from a really big blue-collar family. And what we used to do, still do, stonemasons. We've been stonemasons for generations in Italy and now here. We're a family of makers. We make stuff. And in our family, we didn't look around for credentials, who has a law degree, any of that stuff. If you needed something, you got it. You want to do something, you do it. We don't wait around looking for credentials or asking someone else to do it. And I think from the things that I have gleaned from Eric and Janae and Ben talking about Citizen University, this whole idea of citizen power, in a weird way, backhanded way, old school way, that's kind of what we experienced growing up. Being one of the few kids in my family who did go to college, my father immediately recoiled on me and said that I went to college to get stupid. And I think to a certain extent, he was kind of right. I showed back up, and I had these ideas, and this huge community that we had just taken for granted seemed different to me. And I'm bringing different ideas into it and different thoughts than I had ever had before. And so that started to kind of create this weird friction. And in my third year of college, I spent the year in Italy. It was a fabulous year. It was amazing for me. The very last day we were in Italy, my roommate and dear friend and I went out. And that evening, he died in a freak accident. And I was arrested. I was held. No representation. And eventually allowed to come back home. I got home. 2 months later, my brother was killed in a construction accident. And I think what that did for me is those moments when you're about to spread your wings, you don't. And that community that was so strong for me felt really tattered and very beat up. And I knew that I needed to do something. I needed to make a break. And so what I did is I thought about, what is it that we do? We do, my family, we build, we make things. And so I went to graduate school. I paid my way through graduate school. I became an architect. And I thought to myself, this is a job that has meaning. This is a job that will have significance. And I got very, very lucky because I think I had such impatience. I knew that I was 21 when this happened. I knew that we weren't going to be here forever. And so I was hugely impatient. And so working with one of the best firms in Boston, I was doing museums. We were doing high-rises. We were doing Ritz-Carltons. We had work all over the world. We were doing just amazing things. But somewhere in the back of my head, there's something kind of not connecting, not clicking. And then we had a miracle happen. My wife and I had 2 sons in a span of 2 years. The older one is named Gaetano, and the younger one is Luca. And I feel like between my wife, Lynn, and these 2 people, they saved me. I started to get complacent. You start to work in something, and you get good at it, and you like it, and it's all good, and you get complacent with it. Then you have the kids, and you're like, oh my God, I have to be responsible, which is not my strong suit. You have to take care of things, right? Take care of business. And meanwhile, maybe something inside of you starts to get locked up. It starts to choke a little bit. And I started to wonder about, what do I look like through their eyes? And I knew what I wanted to look like through their eyes. And so rather than opting for the security of this great job with great people and great projects and everything else, I did something crazy. And we decided that I was going to start a business. And the ethos of the business actually can be summed up by something that is very strongly a part of the Citizen University credo. We're all better off when we're all better off. I started a company, as Rakesh points out, that focused on doing green building and design. But I wasn't comfortable with just doing green building and design. We chose systems design and systems construction, building houses and factories, so that we could lower the price and make green houses for everybody. Why did only rich people get high-style design, beautiful materials, no poison? Why only rich people? So why can't we do this for everybody? And so we started this company, and it started to go great guns. And we were doing incredibly well. We were winning awards, everything was going good, and then the market crashed, right? This project is in a meadow in Vermont, and it kind of represents the high point of what we had accomplished to that point. These little buildings, they're called power pods. The name of the company was Powerhouse, tiny building power pod. The idea behind these were little tiny buildings. They came in 2 pieces, and we put them together in half an hour. They supply all the power they need. They're incredible little structures, and I felt so proud of being able to put something like that together. But at the end of the day, it still was the kind of work that we do. Architects work for 1% of the population. And I started to think, well, okay, the market has crashed. My company has failed. I'm out of work. I still have the 2 kids, thankfully. What are we going to do? And I went back to my practice. And fortunately, because of all the green work that I did, there were enough of those 1%ers out there that I could work for and at least make a living, at least pay the bills. All the while thinking, God, is this really what I want to do? And I started to think, this little dial image that's up there, what if you flip that over? Who works for the other 99%? What about them? What about 1%? What about the bottom 1% of people who don't have anything? Nothing. Either maybe because they never did, or because they had everything they needed, and then within seconds, a tornado took it away. Within minutes, a tsunami wiped it out. What about them? Who's looking after them? And there are these big systems and big institutions out there, and if we sit around and wait, maybe they'll fix it. Maybe not. And coming from a family that didn't really give a damn about credentials, I was like, well, I don't know anything about it, but I'll try. And so I think it says up in the corner there, June of 2001. I have tons of sketchbooks, and they're messy, and there's just my brain going out on paper. And so I pulled this out, and this kind of intrigued me. And I started playing with this, and I started taking the doodles and changing the doodles into more sophisticated drawings, and the sophisticated drawings into 3D models, and playing with things. And it started to evolve, and it started to kind of turn into something. And eventually, what happened was I sent these sketches of a fully developed little structure to one of my partners. And 3 days later, the earthquake happened in Haiti. 1 month after that, the BP oil spill happened. And the little video that's running right now is what we make. what my company makes. And this isn't necessarily about product, but it's so that you can see what it is that we do. And our ethos at our company is all about creating a product that anybody can put together. It doesn't require tools. It can be reused. It's made of recycled materials. It's recyclable at the end of its use. They're adaptable. You can join them together like Legos to form bigger buildings. That's what we're trying to do. The name of our company comes from an interview with a bigwig at a bank in New York who had just written a huge check for the Haiti Relief Fund, and he said he might have thrown it out of the blankety-blank 52nd floor window of his office. And I said to him, well, what if I told you for the same amount of money, we could fill up a whole bunch of shipping containers and have 200 buildings waiting on a dock in New Orleans? And you could put them up, and they could have a J.P. Morgan, okay, so it was Chase. It was damn it. It was J.P. Morgan Chase blue, awning over the top to shade them. What would that do for you? And he was very enthused about the idea. It was enough encouragement for me to make that leap and to say, you know what, maybe I really can pull this off. Maybe I really can do this. And I started doing my research, as you need to do. And before long, I segued from just being the guy who was half into his architecture practice and half into this new thing to only doing the new thing, and then really pushing hard on the new thing. I'm not the only one doing this. There are lots of other companies doing it. And the reason is it's hugely, hugely important. Right now, there are about 51 million people worldwide that are displaced. It's the most since World War II. World War II, right? So we're looking at tons of people that don't have anywhere to be. Worse yet, there are 1.6 billion people on the face of our planet in need of adequate shelter. They kind of had nothing. And this number comes from the United Nations. One of my advisors is the former head of global policy for UNICEF. And her feeling is this is where our little company, when it grows up, will start to have its greatest impact. And our goal, it's a big, hairy, audacious goal, starting with a tiny little company in Massachusetts, but we're really hoping to get ourselves on track within the year so that in the next few years, we are going to house 1 million people for less than $2 per person per year. And I'm done. I'm leaving it. I'm leaving it at that. I'm walking off.